Hello everyone, and welcome to Janet's Craft Corner. Today we're going to make our mid-century vintage ornaments, and I'm going to actually show you just how easy it is to mix up and make ornaments in a multitude of colors. Hopefully I can remember what colors I decided I was doing these in, but we'll see. So we're going to start the simple stuff, some white, because we got lots of snowflakes on these ornaments, so those I'm not kind of messing around with. I'm just sticking to white with them. So let's get them painted up, and then we'll start playing with colors. Can tell you that we're going to do three color schemes. We're going to do one that's red, green, and gold. We're going to do one that's pink, really bright pink, and a really bright blue with a little bit of silver, and one that's kind of more of a royal blue and silver also, but a lot more silver on that one. There's just a little bit of silver on the first one. Okay, so let's do our white. I'm going to do this with the sponge method because these are all very small pieces. And guys, I've already forgotten what colors I'm doing on which ones, so we'll just kind of play it by ear, won't we? Yeah, that's the way we do it. So our white, I got the white down. I know snowflakes are white. I want you to really see that this is a possibility. Changing up colors is not that hard. And sometimes you stand and look at them and you're like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. But if you're thinking about where you want to put them and what the things that you like are, it's really not that hard. You know, you look at our snowmen and they might have, let's say they've got blue for their scarves and stuff, but you don't like blue. Blue's one of your least favorite colors. You're a bright, bright, bright colors girl. So you want to do bright pink, or you want to do red and white. That's not hard to do. That's what's beautiful about these kits. You can make them into whatever you want them to be. They don't have to be the color schemes that I thought of. And sometimes I can only think of one or two. I'm not real great sometimes at thinking of multiple color schemes because I don't, I'm thinking about what I like mainly, and I don't think about what I've seen other people like. But I can look at some things and tell that, and this is one of those times because I just love the true vintage mid-century modern ornaments, the kind of glass blown with the bright colors. Oh, I think they're just beautiful. And I've always loved those ornaments. And so the idea of making them in the wood that make them look, very similar to those with that kind of design on them, it just excites the heck out of me. And that's kind of why I can see these in multiple colors. I can see about 10 colored combinations in my head for these because I've seen them in so many colors in the glass. And so it's like, oh, I can remember how I saw one that was like this. It was similar to this one. And I remember I saw one like this. It was similar to this one. It kind of makes it a little easier for me to mix and match them. Which means it makes it easier on you because I can actually show you what I mean when I say change up the colors. Okay, so there's our white ornaments, and then also the center of this one is white. So I'm going to get a brush here and do that white also. And the beauty of these pieces and these not only these ornaments, but any of the wood kits that we have, is that you do not have to have exact paint skills because these are done in ways that make layers so that you're painting many times just one color on any given piece. On this piece we're going to paint two colors, but we have a large section here between the two colors that's going to be our kind of filler. There's a piece that goes on top, so we don't have to be neat with where our two colors meet. We just have to get them so they're larger than the area that they need. And with white you kind of got to go over it a couple times, and that's what I'm kind of doing right now. It's just going back and getting kind of a second layer on it. I'm getting a full second coat because it's not fully dry, but I think I want to get enough without having to wait for it to dry. I'll leave that brush out just in case. Okay, and then this ornament's got some gold on it. This is the only one I'm doing gold this time. First time around I did them all with gold tops, but I'm going to do just this one with the gold top, and I'm going to do the outer edges of this ornament in the gold also. I think that'll be pretty. So let's get... this will work. So then we're going to do the outer sections of this in the gold. Now with the metallics you almost always have to do at least 2 coats, sometimes 3. Sometimes I'll put a base coat underneath of a similar color, in this case like a golden yellow, but I didn't grab it to use today, so we're just going to make do with just the metallic. It will work. It'll just take a couple extra coats. It'll just take an extra coat or two. And so it's not real hard to do. They don't like to cover as well. I don't know. They just don't cover quite as well. Sometimes the look you get by not adding extra coats is pretty too. But in this case, I want a really bright look, so I'm going to add the extra coats to get the brighter. And as you can kind of see, I'm trying really hard to go from the inside of my ornament to the outside as I'm painting, so that I won't have to edge my ornament. And a lot of times with ornaments, I edge a little more than I would with a regular piece, just because it hangs on the tree and you get to see the edges better. Okay, so that's kind of all the gold. See if it's dark enough. Looks like I can do a second coat, so I'm going to go ahead and do the second coat here before I switch brushes, and then we'll see. We are starting sign-ups will be starting in July 15th. We are going to start a ornament club, and your first set of ornaments will come on August 5th. We'll ship on August 15th. And there's special pricing for charter members, anybody that joins by the end of July will get special pricing. They will go up after that point. And you'll get 3 ornaments, and they'll always follow a theme each month to make, and you'll get the paints for it and any embellishments that go on the ornaments themselves. We're not sending you the cords or the hanging mechanisms for the ornaments. We debated and debated and debated. Honestly, this was kind of a big debate around here. But different people like to use different types of ways of hanging their ornaments. Some people like to use just a really plain cord. Some people like to use more of a baker's twine. Some people like to add a ball to it, top of it. Some people like to add a little bow to the top of it. Some people like to use like a thicker ribbon and actually tie it in a bow. So we decided that the best thing to do was to just not include it, because we would never get what everybody wanted. And so we're not including that. You'll have to come up with your own style of finishing your ornaments and putting a hanger on them. Also kind of depends on how you're planning on using your ornaments, because some people use their ornaments on a tree only. Some people use them as part of a gift. Use them as the gift tag, and then that's an extra special piece that the recipient can then put on their tree to remember this special Christmas with you. Okay, so there's our white. I think we'll try to do those areas over there again. When you use the sponge method, it works pretty well, because it doesn't tend to go down on the sides as much, especially if you offload your brush well and you keep your pressure light. I kind of got a little carried away early on in this, and so I didn't do a great job of doing that. So I may have to touch my sides up a little bit on these. We'll see. I don't know if I need any more gold really or not. I think we'll do, just because my brush is still wet, I'll do one more layer of the gold. It's really looking bright and sparkly though, so I don't really think I need any more than one. Okay, so now then, these are going to be green. The ornaments that you would get in the ornament club, well, there may be similar ornaments on our site, like one of the months you're going to get mid-century ornaments. They will not be ones that are actually available to the public. They will just be ones that are for a year. They will not be available on our website. They'll come out a year from now. We'll probably put them on. I'm not sure they'll put them on a year from now, but I won't put them on any earlier than that, because we want it to be a very exclusive thought. It's something very special. You get to get something that nobody else can get if you're a member of the club. And you will get videos that teach you how to do the ornaments that we have. Obviously, I'm going to do them in one color scheme most of the time. I'm probably not going to do 3 different ones, but hopefully with this video you'll have figured out that you can adjust it, and it's not really hard to do. Just kind of grab some bottles of paint and play along. I am giving this a second light coat over the top of that first one. So one of the things that's great about acrylic is for the first 2 coats you can get away with usually immediately coming. After that first coat dries so quick because it's right there on the wood, and acrylic is a quick drying medium. And the second and third coats, it will take a little bit longer to dry if you have to go with the second and third coats. But that first one dries really fast, so it's really easy to come back in with that second coat before you even put your brush down. And then I'm going to do the letters on this one in a really dark red. This red is really runny. It doesn't usually take me very much. And we're going to use the sponge method on these letters because they are letters, they're small, and so getting down around them and trimming is going to be very difficult. But this way I don't get it down on the sides very much. It just has a very light edge on the sides, and it's usually a pretty consistent edge on the sides. And again, because you're putting such a light layer on, although with this bright dark red it's probably enough, but I'm going to put a second coat. I'm going to come across and do a second coat. Okay, so this one we said was going to be our blue and pink one, so I think we're going to do blue on the back and pink on our pieces, and then I'll just do a silver thing when I do this one with a lot of silver on it. I'll do the silver on the thing. Okay, and I am going to sponge paint, even though these are a little bigger. It gives you such a clean edge that it's usually your better bet. Because I'm sponge painting, it's putting on a very light coat, and that's okay. It means I'm going to have to come back and do a second coat, but I don't have a problem with that because it definitely will be, because it's such a light coat, it will definitely be dry by the time I need to come back through. And I'm actually kind of going back a little bit as I go. These pieces are all large enough to trim if I want to, so I'm not being super careful on them. But if I can avoid trimming, that would be the better option. And I'm actually kind of brushing. I'm not fully bouncing. I'm giving it some brushing stroke with that, especially on these 2 bigger pieces. I don't do a lot of trimming in my pieces that I don't, unless I have to. White I usually have to. I'm not very neat with my white by the time I get 3 coats on. But for my things like my most of my colors, I usually don't try really hard not to trim. There are tricks to doing that. You can make sure that you always, as much as possible, start in the middle of your ornament or in the middle of your piece that you're painting, and work your way out. And I'll show you that with the blue here in just a minute. But like I said, with my ornaments, I do tend to trim all of it, except for the little bitty letters. Mainly because more people are going to see it. I don't like for people to see those edges. And when it twists on the tree, you're more likely to see the edges. And then, like I said, our bright blue is what we're going to do our background in. We're going to start in the middle of our piece and work our way to the outside edges. And this is a thicker paint, looks like, which is nice because it means we probably can get away with 1 coat. It's going on pretty thick, which I like. And then this ornament is going to have a silver cap, but we're going to get that when we paint the next ornament here. Next, we're going to work on this ornament here. We're going to work on our silver next. I'm going to go with the silver as the background on this one. This one, because it's a silver, and silver usually needs a lot of paint, I'm just going to squirt right down the middle here. And spread that out there, and then I'll give me some over here to work on those edges. I got a little bit too much, but see, I know I had these pieces over here that are going to also be silver, so I'm just going to go over here and get them when my brush is kind of loaded. Because it just had, I have way too much there. I was trying to be careful, but sometimes you just can't tell how much you're going to need. But there are ways to solve that problem. You're going to get to see them. And so I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this and take it over here and spread it out there and leave it there. Like I said, I got it a little thick on here, but I still have half to cover, so and this, just like the gold, this is not quite as bad as the gold, but just like the gold, I am going to want at least 2 coats. But I don't want those coats on, you know, all at once, so this will give us a pretty even coat on here, and then we'll come back and get a second coat in a little bit. And then I'm going to leave that out. So I'm also going to do this word Noel in the silver. I think it'll be okay because it's going to be up above on top of the blue. I think that's how I want to do it. If I don't like it, I'll come back and put something else later. And in the sponge painting, especially with the metallics, it's a little more because there's just not a lot there. So we'll probably have to do 3 or 4 coats. I'll get probably 2 on now, and then I'll let it dry for a little bit, then I'll get a couple more. And then I'm going to leave that on there for right now. We're going to do the dark blue on these 2. Or the kind of a combination, kind of cross between a dark blue and a royal blue. See, I mean, like I said, you can play a little bit if you don't like it when you piece it together, because I'm going to lay them together before I glue. And if you don't like it when you do that, well then just sand them slightly and put another coat on. Worst case, you got to put a white on before you put another color on, because you have a dark color like I have here. Boy, that's more dark than royal, isn't it? I was really looking for a royal, but guess I kind of got one that's a little too dark. Oh well. And I didn't go under those letters are just kind of for the those little loops are kind of for the placement of the Noel to help us out in placing it when we get ready to put it on here in a little bit. So I didn't go over them with the dark blue because I don't want that showing underneath there. And it's drying a little lighter than it looked like it was going to. This works a little bit more on our silvers, and these over here are a little thinner than that there. So they may need 3 coats, I don't know, we'll see. And I will do a very light extra coat on this one. This one didn't turn out too bad once we spread that out a little bit. But I will still go ahead and give it another light coat just to be on the kind of safe side and make sure we get a good color on it, because we like it bright and shiny. I think I'm done with that brush, but I'm not quite done with the sponge painting on the word Noel. And then I think we have everything painted on all 3 of our ornaments. And so we're going to start laying them out and assembling them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them out, and I'm going to show you on a couple of them how to trim it. I'm not going to do all of them for you because it takes quite a while to do the trimming, because you're going around every edge, and I'm a little OCD and then I want them perfect. If I decide to trim, I want it perfect. I'm pretty good at deciding not to trim unless I absolutely have to, but then once I decide to make the trimming move, I want to get all of it. Okay, so we'll do that one last so it can have some time to dry. So we're going to do them in the order we painted them. We're going to start with this one. I'm going to lay our pieces out here first. Make sure everything lays out fine. I'll use this one as the sample to show you how to actually trim it and to glue it. And the rest of them I'm just going to lay out for you, because that's the boring part and you don't want to sit here and watch me do all that. I'm sure. I have confidence in that. So you've got little slight indentations, slight engraved marks where these letters go, which makes it easier to get them lined up. And then these 2 little snowflakes on this one, we'll put one here and one here. So there's what it looks like when we get done laying this one out. But I'm going to take and I'm going to show you how to trim it. And there are two ways to trim. One is with a marker. So I'm going to do this one with the marker. I prefer the marker most of the time, except for every once in a while the marker can't get in a little corner. But you want to come from the back towards the front so that the bulk of your marker is on the back and the point of your marker is towards the front of your file. And then just lightly move it across the edges that you need to trim, and just go over the top of whatever paint you have there. So you can see here, I think I can make this so you can see it, maybe. Hold on. You can see there where I've got it kind of on the side. But if I trim it, trim that piece right there, then now I have covered that up and it looks like a clean, nice, neat paint. So that's the purpose of the trim. And like I said, I don't do it as much on regular pieces as I do on ornaments, because of the fact that people won't see it on regular pieces. But on an ornament, because it spins and because people see the sides more than they see, just as much as they see the top, I do trim almost everything. Now on my snowflakes, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim my little tippy ends, which are the parts that get seen the most. I am not going to try to go down in there. Actually, this one's really bad, so I am. But I'm going to do it with the other way of doing it, because a marker has a tip, and that tip can only go down in so far. So, if you don't have a marker, or you have areas that are small, like this, then you can just do some black paint and a very small brush. That one's a little too small. That one's probably not bad. Small brush, and we'll go with, and we're gonna, because see, this will go down in between these areas pretty good. And again, you come from the back to the front, and we're gonna just cut it across that area. I'm just gonna lightly go across there. You want to keep it light, and don't like this brush, it's spreading. Don't like that brush, guys. We're gonna go back to this little bitty one. It is really, really little, but we'll make it work. That one was spreading out too much, and I was afraid I was going to end up with it going around the edges of my piece. We're going to come like this on our... It's so small, I don't think you can see what I'm doing. So you're just going to come down in between and slide it up the edge. And because you're coming from the back to the front, as long as you're somewhat neat about it, and your brush doesn't end up spreading like mine was doing there at the beginning, so that some of the bristles get up on top, then it'll do a nice clean edge. And that edge then is almost perfect when you look at it from the side. And that's what we're kind of going for. And I'm going to kind of show you again. I always twist the wrong way. See how that one's got... Does not want to focus on that, does it? See, it's got white on that edge, but those others don't. I don't know if you can tell that or not. It doesn't really want to focus on that. A little too close, I guess. But those are the two ways you can trim. I think, like I said, I like the marker better. I think it goes a lot quicker. But it does not get down in these little areas like this. And so for these, this is a lot better. Biggest thing, one of the biggest, hardest parts of this is you've got to watch where your fingers go as you're touching this, because now I'm coming around to these sections that have been done with this hand, actually with both hands. And so I'm getting a little bit of black paint on my hands. So I got to be very careful about where I'm grabbing and making sure that that black paint gets wiped off my hands and doesn't get transferred back onto the item I'm trimming. So there's one of those done. See, I got some on it that way, and I'll just touch that up here in a minute. So what I try really hard to do, although on these things it's really hard, is to keep turning it round and round without moving this hand here until I get as many pieces as I could have gotten. And then I will switch and only have to move my hand once, which will mean that I don't get it on my hand and then move my hand somewhere else to transfer it. See, now I've done almost all of it, all except for the insides of these two and that one piece. So now I'm going to lay it down, and I'm going to come around, and I'm going to grab hold down here, and I'm not going to move that hand once I grabbed hold. And that way, I'm not transferring paint from a wet area to the white area. See, that one I did a very good job of and did not get paint anywhere it was supposed to be. Okay, everything else on here, I can go back to my marker, and I do a much better job with the marker, so I'm going to switch back and trim it with the marker. And I'm going to just keep trimming on this one because I want to go ahead and actually glue this one together for you too. The rest of them I will just lay out for you, and then I will trim later. And if you're using a marker, you notice every once in a while I go over here and pop, and that's just priming it because I've used up all the ink, all the paint that's down on the tip. So down here on this white, I made it kind of a mess, but we'll clean it up. It'll be fine. Nobody will ever know. Okay, so with this one, we've got everything trimmed. Like I said, I'm going to have to touch up that one snowflake, but I'll do that. And so I'm going to start putting it together. And I'm going to, this one, because these two fit underneath this, I'm going to start up there on that piece. And I am using a glue called Precision Art Glue, or Art Glitter Glue. I get mine on Amazon, but I've also seen it at both Michael's and at Hobby Lobby. So you should be able to get it at a lot of those locations also. And I like this glue because it goes on easy. It comes, that size does not come with a spout. It comes with these little bottles that you can fill. And the 2-ounce size comes with a tip that you can use to spread it, and it dries perfectly clear. So the only thing you have to worry about is if you get a clump of it. And a clump, you will, even though it's clear, you'll be able to see it. And I'm sliding it. And it gives you the ability to slide, which is usually a good thing. But I'm doing a lot here. I think I got my glue on pretty thick there. And sometimes I will just take a little bit of that glue off. I have a couple of old brushes here that's all they ever do is take glue off, so that I don't get chunks anywhere, because I got a little way too much glue. But this glue will give you a few seconds to set up, but then it sets up good and strong, and you don't need very much. Like I only put one little line down the center of that one. You just line your pieces up. You want to try to line your edges up as much as possible so you don't have edges showing out underneath things. Just hold them there for a second. And then do the same on the other side. And you really don't need a lot of glue. And that's one of the things I like about this glue too, is you don't need very much of it. It's not something I have to really paint on really thick. Any wood glue will work, but a lot of wood glues are too thick to spread well with this kind of small pieces. And so if you're using some of those that are too thick, what I would suggest to you is you pour some out on your palette and you use a brush to apply it. And that'll thin it up some so that it doesn't get too clumpy on your piece. But this stuff, I love the way it works because I can just put a few dots on and it'll stay. It'll give me a few seconds to set it up so I can get it squared up. Like that didn't lay down exactly perfect, so that gave me a few seconds. But yet it will hold, and I like it a whole lot better than hot glue. Hot glue is the one glue I will tell you don't use. Hot glue is nice and simple and easy when you're using it, but unless you only plan on using these things for 1 or 2 years, you don't want to use hot glue. Because hot glue, as it contracts, as it heats up and cools off, it will contract and expand, and it will start to let go. So the only time I use hot glue is when I'm putting on ribbons of some sort, bows, ribbons, etc. And I do that because these kind of glues don't set up quickly on fabric. They seem to take a long time to set up on fabric. hot glue will set up quickly. Like I said, got a problem with it letting go over time. But if you use hot glue surrounded by something like this, then the hot glue sets up quickly and holds it for the first, 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever. And then after that, the regular glue has kicked in and it'll hold it permanently for a long time. Okay, and this is our snowflake that's okay, so we're just going to take 2 of our strips, the ones going the opposite direction, so we have the 2 longer ones, and pop it on there. And this is the one I messed up in trimming, so we're just going to lay it over here so you can see where it goes, but I'm not going to glue it right now. These other 2 ornaments, rather than take the time to trim and glue, because I know that's just boring time for you guys, I'm just going to lay them out. This is our silver one. I really kind of liking the way that turned out. Got the royal blue, which, like I said, it's not quite as royal as I wanted it. It's a little more navy, yes, but I think it's good. And I maybe should have gotten something different for the Noel, but yeah, it's not bad. So if you've got a silver and blue tree, there's how you do do that, or you can alternate and do it the exact opposite of that with the blue on the bottom and the silver on the right. And then this one is our bright, and that one gets a couple of snowflakes too. I forgot about them. It gets a snowflake here. And it gets a larger snowflake up here. And then this one, we've got our bright blue down, and we're going to add our pink accents. And this one's going to be bright. And this is kind of a vintage color scheme, really. Not many people use this color scheme anymore. But I'm pleased with the way it turned out. And then I went ahead and did a silver handle for it because they were almost always silver or gold. And then it gets 1 snowflake too. And so there you go. There we have 3 ornaments from our Vintage Mid-Century collection that are all 3 painted in different color schemes. And so you can see just what you can do with mixing up your colors and having fun with what you've got from us. I mean, I think when I did them initially, I did them all in light pink and red and a little bit of green. But I like all 3 of these, depending on what your style is. So I wish you good luck in deciding your color schemes, and I hope you'll join us again soon for another Crafted by You tutorial.